qualifications of Arjun. So if he rejects, then what to speak about modern man in Kali Yuga, who has all the various steps of incapability, isn't it? Such a qualified person like Arjun could not practice Ashtanga Yoga, then how can a modern man practice? So, we see in Kali Yuga there is a bitter struggle for life of short duration. Because generally this Ashtanga Yoga cannot be perfected in 15-20 years. It requires many, many years. We see this Vishwamitra did 60,000 years. Saubhari Muni did 10,000 years. So, but Kali Yuga is Alpayusha. People are very Alpayusha. So there is a very, very short duration of life. Then, short duration ho ki long duration ho. But people are not serious even for simple methods of Bhakti Yoga. What about, Ashtanga Yoga? People are hesitant to take even Bhakti Yoga seriously. Isn't it? It is so simple. Even in such a simple manner, still they don't want to take it up. So what to speak of such a Ashtanga Yoga and all that, what kind of rules and regulations? People feel, when Prabhupada presented 4 regulative principles, the people in America, they commented that Swamiji is denying the basic necessities of life. And Prabhupada said, no, I am not telling you to not go engage in sex. I am telling no illicit sex. No, so they said, no, this is basic necessity of life. Eat eating. You eat something else. No, this is basic necessity of life. And drinking. Drinking liquor is basic necessity of life. No, they said Swamiji is denying basic necessities of life. So this is the situation of people in Kali Yuga. That the simple rules, which are not so difficult to follow, they are also not ready to follow and they feel this is too much. Another place also, I think the Alan Ginsberg or somebody said, you are too conservative. Like that. Sometimes people say you are too fanatic. Why are you putting so many rules? So people are not serious even about simple practical rules. And what to speak of such Ashtanga Yoga, kya rules hai, so many, 10 times more rules are there minimum. So, and this whole yoga system, it regulates the mode of living also. Even from the matter of sitting, you cannot lean against the wall and sit and do Ashtanga Yoga. Right? You cannot sit on the chair and do Ashtanga Yoga. And it is not possible to even, sit in the city, amidst the metropolitan city and do Ashtanga Yoga. And, so this Ashtanga Yoga system, it regulates even such things, the mode of living, the matter of sitting, the way sitting postures are, the selection of place, all these things are, also being regulated. Then who would like to take it? Detachment, and it requires complete detachment of mind from material engagement. Mind cannot be attached to material engagement. That's what is the demand of Ashtanga Yoga system. So that's why Prabhupada is mentioning that such so-called imitation, this so-called yoga or the imitation yoga, which is being taught in the schools and various yoga societies and clubs, they are condemned. Why they are condemned? Because they don't know the impracticality of it, and they are doing something in the name of yoga, but that is not yoga. So as we discussed before also, they may do some yoga asanas, but that is not yoga. That may give us the healthy body, but not healthy mind. And the so-called meditation they do is simply useless actually. It is simply useless. So, in fact, whose lecture I was hearing yesterday, it was yesterday or day before yesterday, Vijay Prabhu. You all know Vijay Prabhu? Our book distribution minister of ISKCON? One of the very enthusiastic devotees.
To JGD also, no?
Yeah. He has come to JGD? Okay, maybe. I don't know. Very senior devotee, and he is book distribution minister of ISKCON. So he was telling in one class, I was hearing his recorded class, so he was telling that this Maharshi Mahesh Yogi, very famous personality, right? who made transcendental meditation, TM. So those days, especially Prabhupada's times, he was very, very famous. So one day he meditated for 3 continuous days. And his conclusion was that the best form of meditation is bhakti and the mantra meditation. He very openly told. And he said that if you really want to learn it very nicely, you have to go to ISKCON. He very frankly expressed it. So he had that much integrity and frank, honesty to at least mention that, the so-called meditation which people are trying to do is simply a big cheating, and they are with complete ignorance. They may imitate some type of yoga, and they may say that, oh, we do feel the peace of mind. Yeah, you may feel the peace of mind, sir, but it is unendurable. It is unendurable. Otherwise, why you are not always happy? Why your happiness is being, taken away from time to time? Because it is unendurable. So that's how such, yoga practices which are done in modern times in various cities, all over the world, yoga is very famous now. That is good sign, better than being sattvic, than being rajasic and tamasic. But, that is not the ultimate thing. It is a dark ignorance people are in. They think that by such meditation I can become God. So that's not possible. So Vijay Prabhu was telling in his class how he became devotee. He was telling also. Nonetheless, this yoga society, many people have, many Westerners especially, or maybe Indians also, they have gone to yoga societies and eventually they have turned to ISKCON, understanding that there is nothing over there. So this Vijay Prabhu in his school days in TV, used to see TV show, and there used to be yogic practices. So they were advertising that if you want, you may leave a 3-day yoga experience in our in our center, and at the end of which, if you like, you may buy your mantra. So then he remained. He went to that place, stayed there for 3 days, and then at the end he felt nice, one sense, better, because he said that because the lifestyle of California was so passionate that just going and meditating there itself calmed me a lot. But he said, but still it was very empty. So he thought that, okay, let me buy the mantra. And he bought the mantra for $120. So, and what was that mantra? I God. I God. Basically, I am God. And they used to tell that 15 minutes morning, 15 minutes evening, you should meditate. And then he felt, oh, this place in California is very passionate. So he went to Bahamas. And there he lost everything, whatever possessions he had. And then he took up some job, So he used to very devotedly, with great hope, used to chant this, I God, meditate. But then he eventually went to Miami in Florida, and then he found this thing, Prabhupada Bhagavad Gita he found, and then when he learned, my God, he said it was such a wonderful knowledge, amazing knowledge was being spoken, and then eventually he met devotees. So just by taking Bhagavad Gita, he started chanting also Hare Krishna, without meeting any devotee, or without knowing what do you mean by devotee. He just started chanting Hare Krishna, reading this same Bhagavad Gita. And then eventually he met devotees, and he asked devotees, hey, how come you chant the same mantra with I am? And devotees said, oh, you chant Hare Krishna? And he said, yes. And then devotees preached to him. And then he became a devotee. So the point is that he was explaining that although he was trying to do this so-called meditation, but it had very, very empty. He said, as soon as I took up Hare Krishna, I felt great bliss. So although that meditation gave little peaceful experience, little I became pacified from too much of passion, maybe it uplifted little bit to more of goodness, but still it was only a little drop of that joy which we could feel after chanting Hare Krishna and practicing devotional service. So because many people do this yoga and they may say, but we feel nice. You may say that this yoga practice is not great, but we feel nice. But that's why I told this whole thing, that niceness is not the ultimate thing, because maybe little bit passion is subdued and mind becomes little calm. That's all right, but it is unendurable. Whereas bhakti is ananda pudivardha. It is growing in happiness. So in this way, Arjuna is that's why taking an objection on the method told by Krishna. Okay, please read 34th verse.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, one small clarification.
Yes.
Prabhuji, generally
Yeah.
we see that this yoga practice takes lot of years. That you were telling example of Vishwamitra Muni, Saubhari Muni. But now also we see there are many yogis who have some siddhis, and they have meditated for, means say human life is 100 years, and they have meditated for say 30-40 years, and they have achieved some siddhis. So how can you tell that like Ashtanga yoga is like in this stage?
That is Siddhi Abhas. You can say. It is not actually Siddhi. Siddhi means what Ashta Siddhi is, that is talking about is, it is talking about Ashta Siddhis which are, Mahima, Laghima, Prapti, Kama, Vasayitva. So these are all, various Siddhis. Last time we had read, last time, right? Various Siddhis. So hardly anybody has got those Siddhis.
Raji, during Prabhupada's time also there was one person who was walking on water, and Prabhupada said he wasted his life just to save 2 paisa. So means he attained this siddhi lighter than the lightest.
Yeah, but that's what, no? These siddhis, they have not attained all the siddhis. Kama Vasayitva means, you should be able to obtain anything you like from anywhere. Similarly, he must have got this siddhi little bit, becoming lighter than the lightest. But that is not that he is not able to fly. He is only able to walk on the water. Why can't he fly then? This is lighter than the lightest. So that's what, even though siddhis, they have not attained to perfection. Little bit siddhis they get, and they think, abhi ho gaya, chalo, they come out. So that's not, even siddhi. And anyways, the goal of yoga is not siddhi. Siddhi is just a byproduct of yoga. Goal of yoga is to realize Supreme Lord. And one really wants that. One wants that Brahmananda. One wants that joy of Brahma Sansparsha. Then one has to continue for thousands of years. So, but siddhis are basically extra byproduct. It's not the perfection. And modern yogis, they don't have that much siddhi also. Little bit siddhi they have, and they think they are satisfied with that much only. Okay, ho gaya lag. It's very cheap, basically. That's what example you told, that just 10 paisa siddhi you have got. They got told that you have got a 10 paisa siddhi. What is the use of wasting 20 years of life? Okay, 34th verse.
Suji, in Dhritarashtra's case, that was through Ashtanga Yoga he achieved perfection in few days, or it was more by force of Vidura that made the effect?
He did Ashtanga Yoga.
Yes,
Vidura did Ashtanga Yoga. That's why he went to forest and all that. No?
So for him it happened very quickly because that force was there from Vidura, or it was his practice was very
Yeah.
strict?
Yeah, because there was a forceful preaching by Vidura, and that was a special advantage he had. Like that. So, and of course, he did not go back to Godhead. Dhritarashtra did not go back to Godhead. Mostly he must have emerged in personal Brahmajyoti. Something like that.
Yes, please.
Means one says Dhruva Maharaj also attended in 6 months. Right? One may say you are saying thousands of years, but Dhruva Maharaj attended in 6 months. But you see the intensity, and that kind of intensity is unprecedented. इतना आसान नहीं है, इतना intensity के साथ practice करना. Dhruva Maharaj's intensity was too high, so nobody can do with that such intensity very easily. Especially it is not meant general people. That's why Prabhupada writes in the purport, it could have been possible for a few people, but it's not a general practice. It cannot be recommended for everyone. It is only possible for very few people. Okay.
Yes, Prabhu.
So, verse number 34.
Yes, Prabhuji. Chanchalam hi mana Krishna
Chanchalam hi mana Krishna
pramati balvadridam Dridam
pamati balavasudam
tasyam nigraham manye
sasyaham nigraham manne
vayo eva duskaram.
vayoriva sudushkaram.
For the mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate, and very strong, O Krishna, and to subdue it, I think, is more difficult than controlling the wind. But the mind is so strong and obstinate that it sometimes overcomes the intelligence. Although the mind is supposed to be subservient to the intelligence, for a man in the practical world who has to fight so many opposing elements, it is certainly very difficult to control the mind. Artificially, one may establish a mental equilibrium toward both friend and enemy, but ultimately no worldly man can do so. For this is more difficult than controlling the raising wind. In the Vedic literature, Katha Upanishad 1.3.3 and 4, it is said, Atmanam rathinam vidhi shariram ratham evacha buddhim tu sararithim vidhi manha paragraham evacha indriyani hayan ahur vishyamsteshu gosharan atmendriya manoyuktam bhokte ahur manisinha. The individual is the passenger in the car of the material body, and the intelligence is the driver. Mind is the driving instrument, and the senses are the horses. The self is thus the enjoyer or sufferer in the association of the mind and senses. So it is understood by great thinkers. Intelligence is supposed to direct the mind, but the mind is so strong and obstinate that it often overcomes even one's own intelligence, as an acute infection may surpass the efficacy of medicine. Such a strong mind is supposed to be controlled by the practice of yoga, but such practice is never practical for a worldly person like Arjuna. And what can we say of modern man? The simile used here is appropriate. One cannot capture the blowing wind, and it is even more difficult to capture the turbulent mind. The easiest way to control mind, as suggested by Lord Chaitanya, is chanting Hare Krishna, the great mantra for deliverance in all humility. The method prescribed is Save Manha Krishna Padavrindo. One must engage one's mind fully in Krishna. Only then will there remain no other engagements to agitate the mind.
Yeah. So, how many of you experienced this nature of mind? Of course, I am not able to see, but you have experienced it, this type of nature of mind. Everyone has experienced, right?
Yes, Prabhu.
That very difficult to control, isn't it? So Arjun is taking our side. Arjun is empathic towards us. And he's telling, oh, it is easier to control the wind than to control the mind. Now, how many of us can control even wind? This, what is that? Amphan and Nisarg. These two huge hurricanes came. I remember that time, once when it was, I think, this movie, which one was coming, something was coming, hurricane. So I was there I had Balaji service that time. So 4:30 is our altar. We have to open at 4 o'clock, Balaji altar. And then we have to offer fruits and all. And then 4:30 we open the darshan. So I was carrying the plate in that plate there were flowers and cloth and other, Achman Patras and all that to wake up the Lord. And I was going up. Not only it was raining very heavy, the umbrella which I was holding, that flew away also. And all the paraphernalia which I carried, everything flew away, including all Achman Patras and everything. Again, I had to gather together, again go down, and then somehow tightly, hold it, and then somehow I entered. And then again I came down, and again came up for this thing, offering the fruits. Again the cover also was flowing, and all the glasses and all were almost about to fall off only. Such a strong wind it was, such strong wind. I cannot forget it. I never experienced such strong wind in my life. Heavy wind. I was feeling that maybe I will also fly off. Maybe. So we see that Arjun is saying, but such wind can be controlled. But we said controlling mind is more difficult than that. So we can imagine, that is the real fact. So Srila Vishwanath Thakur comments that this intelligence is sometimes compared to a sharp needle. So intelligence is compared to sharp needle. But we see that even the needle may be very sharp, but it cannot forcibly pierce the iron block, right? How much ever sharp the needle may be, but it cannot pierce the iron block with it, right? Same way, the intelligence cannot many times pierce the strong mental block of this mind, strong block of this mind. Although somebody may have very sharp and very shrewd intelligence, but sometimes, he cannot, penetrate through the mind. Mind becomes more obstinate, more strong. So that's how Arjun compares his mind to wind. That is unstoppable enemy. Just like the wind, we cannot stop the wind. We cannot do anything with the wind. Now that's why what they say, evacuate. Even the big technologies of the modern science, they may have, developed the best of the technologies, built skyscraper buildings, and what not they have done. And they are thinking themselves to be God also. But when the cyclone comes or hurricane comes, what they can do is only evacuate. Just evacuate everything. Just empty the whole town. That's it. You cannot do anything apart from that. So similarly, wind cannot be stopped. Similarly, Arjun is comparing mind also to that unstoppable enemy. So also the mind's unrest is compared to the chronic disease, which doesn't respond to the medicine. Sometimes we might keep taking medicine, but disease doesn't go away. So mind is like that. The restlessness of mind is like that. How much ever efforts we may put, this way, that way, so many efforts we may put, but the mind doesn't listen. So that's why he is telling that mind is pramasin. Pramasin is always churning. Is balavat, unbreakable, and drudhan, obstinate. And what is the business of mind? The business of mind is sankalpa and vikalpa. Accept a thing and then reject. Same thing which the mind accepts, after some time it rejects. Like even in Krishna consciousness also. So we accept Krishna consciousness, and then after some time I say, oh no, it's not so good. I don't like it now. Like that. And one rejects like that. And then after some time one may again accept it also. So this whole turbulent mind means sankalpa, vikalpa, accepting, rejecting, accepting, rejecting. That is the only business of mind. So that's how these two verses, Arjun is giving response to Krishna's question, because Krishna is telling, hey, why don't you just control your mind with your intelligence? Krishna is telling. Arjun is telling to Krishna, oh, is it so easy, Krishna? It is so difficult. Why are you thinking that it is so easy for me? So in this verse, that's how the theme is of the nature of mind. So mind is restless, turbulent, like a wind, strong and obstinate. In the purport, Prabhupada is again continuing the same translation, that how the mind is restless and turbulent like the wind. So, Prabhupada is telling that in this world, practical world, a general person has to fight with so many opposing elements, isn't it? So there are so many things which disturb our mind, isn't it? We see in our chanting also every day, there are a lot of distractions, lot of disturbances come. The mind becomes disturbed. Mind becomes disturbed when people don't listen to us. Mind becomes disturbed when people don't act according to our desires. Mind becomes disturbed when the situations go against our, plans and our wishes. Mind becomes disturbed because of bad health. Mind becomes disturbed because of bad weather sometimes. So there are innumerable reasons practically for mind to get disturbed. And in this way, it becomes very difficult to control. So although artificially one may establish mental equilibrium for friends and enemies and all that, what Krishna spoke before, but ultimately the worldly man cannot do it. So Krishna has spoken it so much, and be equipoised, that for a worldly man it is very difficult to do so. And Arjuna is saying it is more difficult than controlling the raging wind. And yes, so we know that intelligence is superior to the mind. Indriyani paranyahur, indriyasya param manaha, manasastu para buddhi, buddhehi parasastu saha. Manasastu para buddhi, buddhi, intelligence is superior to mind. And it is supposed to direct the mind. But what happens? Mind often overcomes, one's intelligence, our own intelligence. And Prabhupada gives analogy just like, the infection sometimes may be so acute that although the effective medicine is given, still the acute infection may overcome the medicine also. Isn't it? Sometimes it does happen. That the infection is so acute, like in our temple, day and night they are taking kadha. One of our brahmachari, he was taking 1 liter kadha, morning and 1 liter kadha in the evening, but still he got corona. So all devotees were joking with him. अरे आपको कैसे हो गया? आप तो दिन रात काढ़ा लेते थे, भर के काढ़ा, पूरा बॉटल भर के काढ़ा पीते थे प्रभु जी, फिर भी आपको कैसे हो गया? So that way, sometimes the efficacy of medicine can be overcome by acute infection. Similarly, although intelligence is superior to mind, but still mind can overcome the intelligence also. One more example we had discussed. Do you remember? Intelligence, mind, senses.
This monkey.
Anybody remember?
Monkey.
Yes. Monkey example also we had discussed. Child and monkey. Mind is like something, intelligence is like something, and children. You remember children? Intelligence is like husband, isn't it? Do you remember that? Intelligence is like husband, mind is like wife, and senses are like children. If you remember this analogy we had discussed. So, who is supposed to be more stronger?
Husband.
In real sense?
Husband.
Yeah, husband. Husband should be stronger than wife, right? Husband should control the wife. But sometimes the husband is weak-hearted. Then what happens? The wife overcomes him. Of course, if the wife is devotee, then that such overcoming is good. But if the wife is not devotee, then the husband can become, although the husband is supposed to be superior, one sense, to the wife, but still the wife sometimes becomes very prominent. And she dictates to the husband. And if the wife is not devotee, then she can create a big problem for the husband. So, similarly, Prabhupada is again giving the very famous analogy of chariot from Katha Upanishad. How the individual soul is passenger of the chariot, this body is the chariot, Intelligence is the driver, mind is driving instrument, the ropes, the horses, senses are like horses. So we know that the driver should control the horses with the help of ropes. But the horses and ropes, because driver is weak, and the intelligence is weak, then horses and mind, they cannot be controlled by the driver. So that's why Prabhupada is saying that the only solution is that one should chant Hare Krishna in all humility, as suggested by Lord Chaitanya. So in all humility is very important, because only Pranagati Sunitena Sarorapi Sahishna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sudahari. Only in humility one can chant constantly. That's why Prabhupada is writing about in all humility. In fact, humility is the symbol of a devotee. One cannot be devotee unless and until one is humble. And with that humility, one can easily take shelter of the holy names of the Lord. Humility is that particular quality which prepares our heart to seek the shelter of the Lord. And as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu suggested that's why one should be humble. And also another method Prabhupada suggests is that we should engage our mind into the service of the Lord. So, Savai Mana Krishna Padara in the Prabhupada course 9th canto Ambarish Maharaj, that the way to control the mind is to also engage it in the service of the Lord. So two things, one is chant with humility, and second is engage the mind into the Lord's service. That way one can control the mind. So, so such strong mind is supposed to be controlled by the practice of yoga, isn't it? Yoga should, this person, should be able to control mind by the practice of yoga. But Arjun found it impractical for an ordinary person. So that's how this 33rd and 34th verse they indicate. So now in the next verses, 2 verses, Krishna gives solution for dealing with the mind. Yeah, please read 36th verse.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha
Asamshayam Mahabaho
Samshayam Mahabaho
Manodurnigraham Chalam
Manodurnigraham Chalam
Abhyasena tu Kaunteya
Abhyasena tu Kaunteya
Vairagyena cha grihate.
Vairagyena cha grihate.
Translation. Lord Shri Krishna said, O mighty armed son of Kunti, it is undoubtedly very difficult to curb the restless mind, but it is possible by suitable practice and by detachment. Purport. The difficulty of controlling the obstinate mind, as expressed by Arjuna, is accepted by the personality of Godhead. But at the same time, he suggests that by practice and detachment it is possible. What is that practice? In the present age, no one can observe the strict rule and regulations of placing oneself in a sacred place, focusing the mind on the super soul, restraining the senses and mind, observing celibacy, remaining alone, etc. By the practice of Krishna consciousness, however, one engages in 9 types of devotional service to the Lord. The first and foremost of such devotional engagement is hearing about Krishna. This is very powerful transcendental method for purging the mind of all misgivings. The more one hears about Krishna, the more one becomes enlightened and detached from everything that draws the mind away from Krishna. By detaching the mind from activities not devoted to the Lord, one can very easily learn Vairagya. Vairagya means detachment from matter and engagement of the mind in the spirit. Impersonal spiritual detachment is more difficult than attaching the mind to the activities of Krishna. This is practical because by hearing about Krishna, one becomes automatically attached to the Supreme Spirit. This attachment is called Pareshanubhuti, spiritual satisfaction. It is just like the feeling of satisfaction a hungry man has for every morsel of food he eats. The more one eats while hungry, the more one feels satisfaction and strength. Similarly, by discharge of devotional service, one feels transcendental satisfaction as the mind becomes detached from material objectives. It is something like curing a disease by expert treatment and appropriate diet. Hearing of the transcendental activities of Lord Krishna is therefore expert treatment for the mad mind, and eating the foodstuffs offered to Krishna is the appropriate diet for the suffering patient. This treatment is the process of Krishna consciousness.
Yeah. So in this verse, Krishna is giving the solution how to control the mind, and he's telling control the mind by practice and detachment. As outside also the saying is there, no? Practice makes man perfect. So by practice one can become perfect also, and one can control the mind. So that's what solution Krishna is giving. This is a very important solution even for devotees actually. So Krishna is agreeing with Arjun's analysis. So Krishna is saying, yes, Arjun, it is very I also agree that it is very difficult to curb the stressed mind. So Krishna is not telling, hey, you are not sincere. No, Krishna is agreeing that yes, certainly Krishna is also emphasizing with Arjun. Yes, certainly it is tough. So, but Srila Vishwanath Thakur says that even when a disease is advanced, because if you remember, last there was a comparison of disease. That sometimes the efficacy of medicine can be overcome by acuteness of the disease. Now Vishwanath Thakur further says, even if a disease is advanced, if the patient places himself under the care of an expert physician, that is spiritual master, and then regular treatment, that is abhyasa, and detachment, vairagya, it will be effective. So first thing should be done is to place oneself under the proper guidance. That is the first thing in controlling the mind. And then apart from that, one should take a regular treatment, that is called as abhyas and practice and vairagya. One should develop little detachment. Then these two things will be effective. So Arjun is calling here, Krishna is calling Arjun here Mahabaho. Mahabaho means mighty arm. So Krishna is saying, oh, mighty armed, you are saying that you can control the wind also. That's why he is calling him Mahabaho. Because he could control the wind also. And in fact, Arjun's arms were so strong that he defeated even Lord Shiva. But then Arjun is saying that I could defeat Lord Shiva also with my arms, but I cannot control the crest jewel of all warriors, that is the mind. Mind is such a warrior that cannot be controlled. I could defeat Lord Shiva, but I cannot defeat the mind. So that's why Krishna is purposefully addressing Arjun as Mahabaho, because he says, Krishna is telling Arjun that if you can control Arjun's mind by yoga, then you can rightly claim as Mahabaho. You may defeat even demigod, but if you don't defeat your mind, you cannot control your mind, then it is useless. Similarly, we see that Hiranyakashipu had controlled the entire universe, practically except for Lord Shiva and Brahma. Everybody was under his subjugation. But still his mind was restless. He couldn't control his own mind. So that was the plight, and that's why he was always anxiety-ridden and dissatisfied, despite controlling the universe. So that's why people may control big things. They may become big, successful people. But the real success is when one is able to control one's mind. One may be conquering the empires, one may be conquering over the people and enemies. But the real successful and the conqueror person, who is the real conqueror, one who has conquered his mind. Also in this word, Krishna is addressing Arjuna as Kaunteya, son of Kunti. Why? Why is addressing him as Kaunteya? Because he is telling Arjun, do not worry. You are the son of my aunt Kunti, so I will help you to control the mind. You are my devotee, you are my relative, so this mind is my energy, so I will help you. Don't worry. Because you are my devotee, I will help you to control the mind. It also signifies that if one takes shelter of Krishna, although the mind is so difficult to control, means Arjuna is saying that I could defeat over Lord Shiva, but I cannot control the mind. I cannot defeat my mind. So such is the obstinacy of the mind. But Krishna is assuring Arjuna, don't worry, because you are my relative, you are my friend, I will control you. So this shows that if one becomes devotee, then Krishna helps the devotee to control the mind if one tries to become devotee. So that is the significance of this particular verse. So, so in this verse, basically the theme is that Krishna is giving solution to mind control. So he is agreeing that yes, mind control is difficult, but he is suggesting the possibility of controlling the mind by suitable practice and detachment. And in the purport, Prabhupada is mentioning that this practice recommended for modern age. What is that practice? 9 types of devotional service. Shravanam, Ketanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Archanam, Vandanam, Padasevanam, Dasyam, Sakhyam, Atma Nivedanam. So these 9 processes. And the foremost is hearing. So the mind control begins with hearing, Shravanam. And Prabhupada says that the hearing is so powerful method of purging the mind of all misgivings. So hearing can purge the mind of all misgivings actually. And Prabhupada is saying that what is the effect of such hearing? More one hears, more one becomes enlightened and detached from everything that draws the mind away from Krishna. So what happens basically by hearing or reading is that our intelligence becomes very strong. That is one thing which happens. Another thing which happens is also, so it is boosting intelligence. Now intelligence gets more and more power to control the mind. Second is also mind becomes purified because we are hearing transcendental sound vibration. So they purify the mind also. And in this way, the hearing can have first stage. That's why that regular hearing should be done by the devotee. Especially this is very important for devotees, that regular hearing, that's what practice is. Although our mind may be very, very uncontrolled, but one should hear as sincerely as possible. Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitrate Kariya Aika Aruna Kariho Mane Asha. With utmost sincerity we should try to hear. That is a very wonderful way to control our mind. And then detachment. Detachment means detachment from matter and engagement in the spirit. Vairagya. So to these 2 things Krishna is describing, Abhyasena, Vairagyena. Abhyasena means by practice. What is that practice? That practice is hearing or 9 devotional services, hearing, chanting, etc., etc. Especially hearing and chanting, especially in Kali Yuga. And then Vairagya means detachment. Detachment means detachment from matter and engagement of mind in the spirit. So when one mind becomes detached from the activities which are not devoted to the Lord, and when becomes attached to devotional activities, then one can easily learn Vairagya. Especially those things which are against Krishna consciousness, devotee should become detached from them. That's essential. One of the symptoms of sincerity is this also, that Anukulyasya Sankalpa Pratikulyasya Varjanam. Whatever the activities are there which are against Krishna consciousness, especially these 4 pillars of sinful life, meat eating, gambling, illicit sex, intoxication. And there are many others like uncleanliness or laziness or irresponsible behavior or offenses, other sins. So one should become detached from them. And also positively become attached to devotional service, devotional activity. So one should become merciful, one should become truthful, one should become clean, and one should become austere, one should practice some austerities. By this we can learn Vairagya. So but impersonal spiritual detachment, again Prabhupada is saying, Prabhupada doesn't leave the chance to give one tola to impersonalist whenever the opportunity is there. So here we see that Prabhupada is saying impersonal detachment is difficult than attachment to the mind of activity in Krishna. Impersonal ways means they only run after detachment. Detach. but they don't attach themselves to Krishna, and that's why it is difficult. Whereas devotee gets pareshanubhava, bhakti pareshanubhava, viraktir anyatra chaisha, trika eka kalah, prapadyamanas yatashnatas cues, tushti pushti kshudapayo anughasam. So bhakti gives paresha anubhava. Sometimes one may feel pareshan anubhava. But if one is feeling pareshan anubhava means there is some problem with the practice of bhakti. We are not practicing bhakti properly. That's why there is pareshan anubhava. But this gives paresha anubhava. Bhakti actually gives paresha anubhava. Paresha anubhava means transcendental experience. Anubhava literally means experience. Paresha means transcendental, divine experience. So when there becomes positive attachments to devotional service, one gets that spiritual satisfaction. And Prabhupada says, because it is practical, because when one hears about Krishna, one automatically becomes attached to Krishna. So are you able to connect the thing? Prabhupada is saying that how the mind can be controlled by hearing and also by positive attachment. But how do we get attachment? Again by hearing. So ultimately hearing is the main thing. So Prabhupada says just like this same verse, it quotes, hungry man is satisfied with the food. So tushti pushti kshudapaya anubhasam. In every morsel, a hungry man feels tushti. Tushti means satisfaction, pushti, nourishment, and hunger is also goes away, going away of the hunger. All three experiences person gets. Similarly, when one hears about the Lord, one becomes attached to the Lord, when one engages into devotional service of the Lord, then automatically one becomes attached to the Lord and one becomes satisfied in one's heart. So, also second one, again, the theme of disease is being continued. The disease can be cured by the process of Krishna consciousness. So that's why again Prabhupada is emphasizing that hearing of transcendental activities of the Lord Krishna is the expert treatment for the mad mind. And diet should be taken as eating the foodstuffs which are offered to Krishna. So Krishna Prasad and Krishna Katha, these are the most efficient ways of controlling the mind. So this is very important message for devotees also. How do we control the mind? By accepting Krishna Prasadam.